Hey, this is James. Welcome to the third episode of the 1976 Mercedes 450 SL EFI build. This is going to be the fabrication part, at least the initial fabrication. I went through and burned a lot of tries of printing parts in 3D, learning to print 3D, and learning on the printers and the materials and all that stuff, and learning Fusion 360. So you'll see a lot of crap in this first episode of stuff I'm trying to do. Some good and some bad. I was using an old Creality printer that I got off Marketplace for $100. It was one of the last versions before the K1 came out, and now I've upgraded to a K1 with an upgraded carbon tip in it, and it's much easier. And if you're going to do anything and you haven't started yet, cheap way in is the K1. Of course, you want just got money to burn. You just do a bamboo, one of the newer bamboos, and you don't have to worry about anything. You just print. So a lot of time was spent doing fabrication work of trying to measure things out, like you saw in the last video, and then translating that into Fusion 360. There's lots of products out there. That's just the one that I started with and I'm using. And I'm lazy, don't want to learn anything else that might be better, like SolidWorks or something like that. So that's what I'm using right now. What you're going to see is I'm working in the valley on the plenum area, working on the throttle body and IAC. That's the intake air controller to control throttle at idle. And I'm using Ford parts for all this part of it, for the induction part, and trying to make that fit in there. The reason why I'm using Ford parts is the throttle body closely matches the Mercedes in size and has the throttle position sensor on it, and I don't have to modify the Mercedes one, which looked a little harder to modify, to put a throttle control body on it. I did this about a year ago, and the video has just been sitting around. I since learned I probably could have bought a newer throttle body and probably would have been able to make that work off, I think, 78, 80 or 90s. Probably would have worked off the Mercedes and just fit right in. But this is the way I've gone, and see no reason to change at the moment. And the induction is a little tight, and I'm also trying to fit a Ford MAF sensor in it. I think it's the 6-pin, I think, is what I got. I'll have to verify that. And you'll see I basically have a deck that replaces the mechanical fuel, the Bosch mechanical fuel controls, and on there I'm putting I spent a lot of time trying to fit the LS1 coils on there, thinking that's the way I needed to go. Since working on my Porsche, I used the VW one. I'm actually thinking about scrapping all that hard work I did to try to put it together and selling those, and just putting in two of the Logic four of the coils of the four, one for each channel, and running wasted spark that way takes up a lot less space, and probably going to be a lot less issues to deal with on there. So you may see that change in further down videos. Well, here we go. Let's see what I did. All right, we got the part printed. Bottom turned out ugly on the top because I didn't have supports and the printer's not wrong. But that's okay. This is just a junk piece to get us by. So, here's how it sits stock. I turned it 30 degrees. There we go. And then, so this went from being like that to being like that. And that's 30 degrees turned. I don't think it's going to be enough, just looking. And I think it goes out too far anyway, so we might have to go more complicated, like come out over and around, or go the other way with it. So close.
So another 5 or 10 degrees down on the bend, and it's going to clear everything that I need it to clear, I hope. Let's test that out to make sure. Alright, that's what I was afraid of. All the front part of the valley here where the water pump's at. Not going to clear all that pretty work that I just did. So do is we'll take this back out, and I'll put this back into the valley so it's fit, and then take some measurements to see if the idea is even going to work, or if I just have to totally block this off anyway. Alright, so we got space over there. We got no space right here. Maybe some space right up in there. So water pump, front of the motor. If I do that, but I don't even know if we got space here. That's all we got. I gotta measure that space in front, because that's all we got. All right, so here we are. So there's the old idle control bypass air that, you know, was coming off of the controller over here, and the valve controller here, and the water heater one in this hole here. So I have to make a plug for that one anyway, and what we can do is we'll lay it just like this. I'll go back to the starting piece that I had. We'll extrude it out, and we'll get this measured out. We'll make a nipple for that to slide up into, and then we'll make another one over here that will go into intake piece. But it's got to be, when we put the hole in it, it's got to be after the MAF. So the MAF has to measure the air, or we'll be screwed. So, you know, probably just use a silicone hose to do that one with, and we'll make a nipple off the side of this as it comes up about right there, and then put the MAF right above it. So we might be able to knock out a couple birds with one stone here, so to speak, and make a support for this, since we're going to be doing it out of nylon fiber or ABS carbon fiber, or ABA. Probably ABA. Well, no, probably would do nylon carbon on this. I think we're gonna do nylon carbon on everything. So let me make a template of this. I'm just going to take a piece of paper again and use my pencil and shade it, take a picture of it, bring it into Fusion 360, and marry a couple parts together to make this guy go. Yeah. And we'll measure this, and then we'll make a blocking plate for this guy. So we already sketched that one out, took a picture of it, brought it in, and we'll just we'll make a cap for it. I would really like to have it down there, but if I end up making the throttle body, which I'm very, very close to doing, we'll see about attaching it to the back there, or off this way. Okay, here's the fuel layout. Here's my mock-up fuel injector. Here's the bracket. So I just have one injector. We printed this out of PLA, so it's just a prototype. But essentially, I'll be using a stock and doing a machining of the fuel rail. And this is the bracketry here. I gotta thicken it up, and I had to cut it in half to print it as well. And I'll be making a connector here so it slides into the other, and I'll make it strong enough to hold everything down. I got some measurements to do here to get this gap and then to get this level. I'm waiting for the real the Volkswagen injectors to come in that have the long extension. All right, so here's a 3D printed version of the coil shelf, and then down there is the hybrid cross between the throttle body. That's has the plate from the mounting plate from the Mercedes and the Ford 65 millimeter throttle body grafted to it. And so next I'm going to make another thin PLA up from there to, sorry, holding the light at the same time, up to here, up to the bottom. And then I'm going to remeasure these, because off the 3D scan that I did, it wasn't perfect, but it got me pretty dang close. And so now I can remeasure here, and then you know, work on reprinting stuff. So, you know, 3D printing's cool. It's not like this beautiful one-off stuff. You have to, like this one failed because it started peeling up in the corner. And because basically the PLA got too hot, the bottom cooled, and it wasn't like the bed wasn't leveled perfectly, so I got to re-level the bed and then rerun material. I mean, that's just to print that little thin one millimeter sheet is a few hours. Yeah, this was I think about 10 hours just to do that. And that's more what the part's going to look like, but it'll be in carbon fiber, which was a whole nother different material and a way to print it and stuff. And I got way off on the holes, as you can see, but it's actually kind of good, because then I can figure out the remeasure everything again, and center. I'm going to take a picture, import the picture back into Fusion 360. Here's another rough cut. And as you can see, all that great stuff I did, and I'm way off. It looked so different the other day. So this printed in two pieces, this piece here, and then this one is fitting inside. It's just white PLA. I'm having a hard time printing this crap. And it's shrinking at a higher rate than what I'd like it to be doing. So now I gotta measure my offset again, which I think I'm just going back to the other plans, and I'll reprint this part here. And you can see that shitty layer. You can see we got crappy layer adhesion here. It's not very much luck. And granted, I am trying to use not as much stuff as I make this part. And so far, I've consumed almost a half a spool off this and a couple other pieces, and it can go really fast. You can see how it's warping and stuff. The world of 3D printing, it's not perfect. Okay, now I'm test fitting the new mount. It's a combination cover plate and mount for the Ford IAC. So it's a little off. I'm gonna move this whole piece over that way. And then I need a place to get the air that after it's been metered by the mass airflow sensor and before the butterfly valve. So I'm going to make another pickup off the throttle body on the intake side, not on the vacuum side, because this side's going to vacuum. So when the idle air control valve, when you let off on the gas, the computer opens it up and bypasses the throttle valve below, and that's how it's able to, with the valve that goes on the front here, able to control the idle of the motor with this valve here. So as we might recall in one of my videos before, I was trying to put it down under there, and I decided to end up going this route here. And I have all the basic drawings done except for the plug for this, which once I take out the distributor, I can either scan it, 3D scan it, or just measure it probably, and make that plug. And then all the principal Fusion 360 designs will be done, and all the test prints will be done before I do the final prints in nylon with carbon fiber in it. There's the 3D scan, and then here is all the different parts that print. One's detached right now. You can see how that how well that cheapy 3D scan went in, and I was able to get it mated up to everything. To the final piece. And then that's where the mount's going to go into there, and we'll just I'll just extrude it. I just move it over and then extrude it into there, into the induction part. All right, I gave one more shot here to trying to run the IAC, the idle air controller, off of the throttle body. So I did a changed the design in the Fusion 360, and it took 24 hours to print it. There's still some support in there. That's why those holes are blocked. We're gonna see if it fits underneath the, fits right in this space over here. I was lazy, I didn't measure anything. I just kind of looked like it would fit, so I'm gonna give it one more shot here and take those 2 guide screws off, bolts off, and we'll give her a shot here. That's what's so deceptive about design. I really didn't measure, but it's not gonna, it's just too thick. I mean, there's definitely space over here. It's a matter of getting the 2 holes, one above the butterfly and one below, and to not you know, because right there is the axis of the throttle body. So you know, the bypass valve to vacuum has to run out below here. You know, it's way down there, and comes out basically on the base. So to make this work, let's get a different angle here. To make this work, I really need to come off the upper side over here, or over here, but then I run into blocking bolts and stuff. So, darn it. I'm going to do one more test of putting this intake back on the plenum. It really wants to fit. We're caught up here on something. Had to turn it 30 degrees here. It's definitely, oh, it's that piece right there where my thumb's at. I think it'd really be nice if it just sat right in there. There you go. Yeah, it's right here, yeah. That's what's causing the problem. All right, another one for the trash bin.
Well, as we end the video here, I'm displaying some pictures of the work that I continued to do. Got the printer to work a lot better on these pictures here. Once I moved to the K1, life was so much easier. I can't stress to you enough. Don't mess with the old stuff. Just go right to something, at least the K1, and start there, if not something better. And I spent a lot of time trying to make parts fit so everything would fit underneath the air filter and look as stock as possible. Part of that is just to be stealthy for emissions and to keep the stock look. So placement of the LS1 coils were crazy, and that's where I talk about wanting to go back and use probably two of the Volkswagen 4-cylinder logic coils. Spent a lot of time trying to fit the math underneath, and finally did figure it out, and the IAC did end up being where I spent most of the time on top there of the intake that goes down to the plenum. Anyway, if you think I earned a like, definitely give me one. That'll help get the video out to other people that might be interested in stuff like this. And again, I'm just trying to show how I did it. I'm not an expert, but if I can do it, you guys can do it. Until next time, this is James.